Okay. Well, this one's going to be a bit more based for US citizens who might be finding themselves in a bit of hot water, particularly some of those who are from California or whatnot, or wherever, who find themselves facing a bit of crapola on the basis that, they didn't use the right pronoun or whatever. So, while the last one was sort of more based for British and EU people, this one will be just sort of stuff for more those of you in the United States. Now, before you start living like a man on the run or a woman on the run, just doing a few dishes here. You probably hear the kettle ramping up in the background, or you will be hearing it from time to time. Being off-grid, I've got a hot water system and all that, but it's sort of just rigged right through to the shower. Instead of getting a sink, because I don't have much room in the kitchen, I've just got a giant bathroom. We already had this sitting out next to the house, along with a whole heap of other timber and rubbish. And believe it or not, this is not too bad to wash, frying pans and stuff in. Anyway, before you all go running off on the basis of getting charged of some stupid bullshit, and start living like someone on the run, someone, having to live under pretty dire circumstances, or whatnot. Remember this. Work out the so-called crime you've been accused of. What crime is that? Is it a state or is it a federal? And secondarily, I don't know how it works in the United States, but here in Australia, one state can deport you to another state based on crimes that you may have committed in that other state. But sometimes, like a particular housing scam that occurs here, a rent-to-buy thing, it's not a crime. There's a lot of things in the rental markets and housing markets that are legal in Queensland but not legal in the rest of the country. So what it means is there's a particular rent-to-buy scam where they basically end up running off with, you put down a house deposit and then you pay it off on the basis of basically like paying it as rent. Except the only trouble is they repossess the house from under you because you never really had it to begin with. They still have the title or some bullshit, and they all run off to Queensland because it's not an offence in Queensland, so Queensland won't deport them for it. I don't know if it works the same in the United States. You might want to look into that. But there's quite a chance that instead of going and living like someone on the run, if you've committed the state crime of wrong pronouns in maybe, Portland, Oregon, or friggin', California, or New York, or Boston, or Massachusetts, or something, and you want to get away from that, just check what states will deport you, if they will deport you at all, based on a state crime. And realise that there's quite a chance that if it's not a crime in the state of Mississippi or Alabama, they ain't gonna do anything. Oh, I don't want to go to Mississippi or Alabama. Well, the other option is, you're going to be in there next to Bubba anyway, or Juan, or someone else who you'd prefer not to be in next to. It all depends. You might want to take 30 days jail on the cuff. You might not want to drop the soap in the shower, though. It doesn't matter if it's Bubba or Juan or who the fuck it is. You may find that you can live a perfectly free life in another state. Perfectly free. No worries about anything. Hell, you can even tell people openly why you moved to Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, fucking whatever. Wherever you end up. It's one of these things, you know, that it may not actually be necessary for you to really go to the extent of, you know, living a really hard life. I think it's frickin' tap is leaking. I'll have to look into that. Anyway, so that may be an answer for you. In terms of work, you're like, well, how can I support myself if I'm not working? Well, you know, there's a lot of things these days. There's a lot of things. Personal assistant online. You could be working cash for a local place. You'd be surprised that, you know, there's ways and means of getting around things. You can be paid in silver coins, like American Silver Eagles. Oh, word of advice on that. Don't accept any from China because it's actually a really thick silver foil and they're just shit, basically. Oh, I got them on discount. Yeah, there's a reason for that because there's fuck all silver in it. Silver will hold its value the world round. So will gold. Internationally, it holds a set price. You know, there's no such thing as discount silver or gold. It's bullshit. You know, it's like getting, you know, buying a $10 note for $5. It just doesn't happen. But you can live off things like that. That's how you can, you know, get stuff worked out. They can literally place an order for silver and have it sent to your address. You know, there's other things like Walmart gift cards, stuff like that. You can be paid in Walmart gift cards, and let me tell you, there will be some local mother who will buy Walmart gift cards back off you for 90 cents on the dollar, and you've got cash in your pocket again. You may be working doing video editing. For someone, you may be working doing software. For someone, there's a whole clusterfuck of different online jobs you can do, just so long as you can get that internet connection. And there's somebody who I used to know who lives a few miles up the road from me. They are also fully off-grid. I believe the husband and wife are split up, but the husband's still there and I think the wife lives elsewhere. But the wife was French. You know, fully born and bred in French. In fact, their daughter's actually studying over in France, living with the grandma at the moment. But they were, you know what their income was? They're up there with a solar system running satellite internet, and she would spend most of the day with a little bloody microphone headset thing translating all these MP3 files from English to French and re-uploading all the MP3 files. And she'd done that as a fucking job, and honestly, I think it was actually paying better than most fucking, you know, physical work jobs around here, even better than some in the capital. You know, it was really well paid. You know, and maybe some of you speak really fluent Spanish, or maybe you don't, or maybe you speak something else, you know, who knows. I don't know. I don't know your circumstances or your history. Long and short of it, you can well exist in an area where the local economy is completely fucked. Now, on about hillbillies. I know there's some of you who don't like hillbillies for whatever reason, and I have come from Australian hillbilly culture, which is very different from. It's not very different, but it has. There's bits in hillbilly areas in America that may not be so desirable, but we don't have those bits here in Australia, but in essence there's plenty of stuff that's fairly similar-ish, except we just don't have, some areas do have a bit of, but we don't have that white trash element, and we particularly don't have meth heads or anything like that. You know, we don't have the real, you know, drug issues and stuff that some of these hillbilly areas in the United States have. Having said that, don't think of hillbillies necessarily as being a bunch of white trash in a trailer park, because trust me, you don't want to be amongst white trash in a trailer park. Think more mountain men. Think more mountain men. If you do need to disappear, oh, trust me, trust me, trust me. Those in the hillbilly mountain men area, they have been growing weed. They've been moonshining since fucking, well, since the Prohibition days of the 1920s. I mean, they were moonshining 100 years ago. And then in the 70s, they realised they could make plenty of money out of weed. So they did. In fact, some of them were doing both. Quite a few were doing both. See, they're not really scared to help anybody. They're not really scared to help people who are running from the authorities, and a lot of them ain't going to ask any questions. And even if they did, trust me, they will understand exactly where you're coming from. If you weren't willing to call some tranny a she. If you had some 50-year-old guy, you know, with a wig and a dress and a 5 o'clock shadow who decided that you needed to spend a bit of time in jail with Bubba on the basis of that, trust me, hell, even the local cops in bloomin' Mississippi or Alabama or Georgia or Kentucky, they would fully understand, you know, and the locals definitely will. Now, if you're finding yourself in a little bit more deep water than that, the locals, not in white trash trailer parkville, but some of the locals in you know, these areas, the real mountain men type areas, the real back blocks, they'll fully understand that you want to stay hidden from the authorities, and there's quite a chance that they won't even ask you what it's for, why it's for. And so in essence what I'm trying to say is it's a fantastic place to hide with no questions asked. Now, these people are not stupid. And I'll tell you from my own experience, so many people, particularly the older people, know so much shit about what snakes are dangerous, what ones aren't, even what native stuff is edible. Shit in the forest you can eat. Trust me, there's some good berries. Over in the States you might find you have what's called thimbleberry. You won't find a great heap of them. You might some years. But you know, you can eat these things. You know, deer tends to be something that's very commonly eaten. And, you know, there's a whole cluster of different stuff that you can learn. I mean a clusterful. I sort of know a hillbilly in Kentucky, and he even knows some of the medicinal plants. But some of these old people, particularly the mountain men types, they will know stuff about native animals, like bobcats, like stuff about just peculiar things about native animals that don't really matter, certain ones, like there's particular snakes. There's two snakes that look very similar up there. One's dangerous, one's not. You know, what plants you can eat. And they'll be very quick to tell you what berries you can eat. And medicinal plants and all these different plants that you can eat, that you can make use of. What tree is best for firewood versus what one isn't. What tree you don't want to be burning because it might have a poison in it, and there will be poison on the smoke. All this different sort of stuff is all knowledge to them. Now there's something I've found, because my area is much the same, you know, we've got different ones around here. If it was daylight I could take you out and show you, and trust me, there's enough footage of it on this channel, African boxthorn. They're the shit all over the place. It's a fucking shit of a plant. In terms of standing on it with flip-flops, it'll go right through you, blasted. It even sneakers right through you. But having said that, it's a very close relative to the goji berry. Yeah, you know the Chinese goji berry that all these greenies are going berserker? Yeah, it's a very close. In fact, when you buy goji berries in China, sometimes as much as 40% of the dried fruit is actually African boxthorn berries. Yeah. Why? Because the dried fruits look the same. Why? Because they're a very closely related plant, and effectively it's almost the same bloody fruit. You can't tell the damn difference when they're dried. You probably can't tell the difference when they're fresh. But you can eat that. I've got another one called Madeira vine, which is growing in amongst some of the boxthorn, which for the most part I've killed off, but I still have some huge stems. This stuff is ballistic. It was grown by, it's actually not really supposed to, I'm not supposed to have it. It's just a declared weed in, well, in New South Wales, but I'm in Victoria and it's considered too cold to really grow down here. In New South Wales where it's warmer, it's become a massive problem and it's wrecking a lot of the, you know, the native forests and stuff like that, badly wrecking it, because it just grows through everything. This is the plant that is known to grow like a yard per week or a metre per week, and it will grow that fast. It is a relative of Malabar spinach, also known as Indian running spinach, which they grow a lot of in India. The leaves look the bloody same. The plant looks extremely close. It's, I think the seeds look a little bit different, but to look at the leaves, you could bloody sell this stuff as Indian running spinach and no one would know the damn difference. Why? It's a close relative of Indian running spinach. And you can eat it, and I have. And Indian running spinach tastes sort of slippery, but it's quite nice. And this is also sort of slippery, but it's got this bit of a shitty aftertaste. But you put a bit of soy sauce on, and it just drowns the aftertaste, and you don't know the damn difference. And if you don't have soy sauce, just put a bit of salt on, and it drowns the taste, and you don't know the damn difference. This stuff was grown by early settlers. I believe it was grown down in Louisiana in the early days there, just to provide quick food for the people who were the pioneers. And, I mean, this shit, you plant this stuff, and if you're in a warm area, it might get out of control. It grows fucking crazy. You've got to see it to believe it. There are times where I've looked at it, and I have seen it grow, and in the space of a month, I've seen it grow more than a metre. And I'm in an area that's supposed to be too cold for it to even exist. So, keep that in mind. You know, there's, and you can just go on and on. I go down to the rivers down here, and blackberries. You can get fucking bags full of, Walmart bags full of blackberries around here. It's just ridiculous. I find that there's people that sometimes might pick the berries, but I've worked out another thing. There's a very shallow river that they're all based on. They're all based there only because of the water of the river. I've got some here at my house. They don't grow a fucking thing. They grow leaves and stems, no fruit. You go to the rivers where there's more water, oh yeah, there's shit going everywhere. Fuck me, your hands will end up solid stained purple from picking them. and you'll end up eating that many, you'll be shitting your guts out the next day because your body just can't handle that much bloody fruit at once. And, and they're fantastically sweet, they're fantastic. But what I've realised in due course is that plenty of people like to get the ones, I mean, you know, my area, nobody's really interested in them. Not that much. But there's plenty of people who, you know, they'll get the ones on the shore without a problem, if they're going to get any. And I've realised that the river's very shallow and fairly slow moving. It's not fast water at all. And it's only, you know, 8 inches deep or something. So I put gumboots on and I walk into the water and I go around into the riverside, and guess what? Absolutely shitloads, and no one's touched them because they've all picked the ones on the shore, haven't they? Because they didn't want to get their little feet wet. Yeah. So I go pretty well like that. Another one we have here that just grows just the same river area, there's heaps of them, but now I've got a whole stack on my property, and they just keep coming up all the time.